can't stand Hinshaw.
Yeah.
Um,
I have a
and
question. I have a question for you. You think she does Xanax?
oh, she's
Have,
on
have
lithium or
Yeah,
something.
she's on something.
No, she's like a sick, like, she's what I'd imagine a movie character of like a serial killer, like psycho nanny that
Yeah.
like kills your kids,
Hmm.
or the psycho doctor that kills your kids.
Just flat expressionless. I don't know if she's got like fucking no SSRI like issues. She just has something going on. It's kind of pleasing on the radio to hear her speak. I will have to say, it's this week 200 people have been added to the hospital. There are 6 people in the ICU. Like it's she's like a GLaDOS kind of voice, and but like I
I think she's
watched one.
obnoxious. I think she's droning. I think she comes across with no empathy whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's so fake and contrived. I think she's a genuine sociopath, and I think it's only natural that a person like that would wind up in a position like that within the public health bureaucracy.
Yeah.
I think these are probably some of the sickest people in government. They've basically still got it set up that they don't have any standard by which they would just lift everything. And there's no commitment that they would ever do that, because there's this continuing tendency to keep moving the goalposts on what the tasks are. And nothing drives that point home more than the old slogan, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. It can just go on forever and ever
I remember bringing that
because
up.
it's entirely arbitrary.
I remember bringing that up in the fall to somebody, and they're like, "No one ever said that. No one ever said 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Well,
It's been the curve.
no, it's flatten the
You
curve.
misheard. I said it's been the curve. Wagey. Now get back in your cage.
Well,
do what we tell you.
whatever. Like Trudeau, is Trudeau like a nutcase that's totally running the show?
No, I think he is.
Or is he a total bumbling idiot who's just being like steered around?
I think he's kind of like, you know how in movies or like you get this impression about this idea of the moneyed liberal.
Yeah, the limousine liberal.
Yeah. So
He's the classic limousine liberal.
yeah, like he's like buying canned air, and he only buys organic. Like he gets very upset if his utensils aren't wood based instead of, you know what I mean? Like I think he's got this set of principles that he thinks that by adhering to them he'll save the world. But he also really fucking loves money. Do you know what I mean? And so he doesn't he thinks that doing the right thing in a given situation is not like is the principle in itself. So it's not derived from principles, it is the principles. He's chaotic good, for lack of a term, right? And people want fucking lawful good. Do you think you lack virtue because you're not afraid?
Well, I don't know. We're all afraid of something, I guess.
But like, you should be afraid of COVID.
I'm really not afraid of the virus.
Do you think that means you're less virtuous than those who are?
Not really.
Do you consider yourself a moral person?
No, not really.
No.
No.
How do you assert anything as being correct if you don't consider yourself a moral individual?
Well, I'm not saying I'm not necessarily hypocritical in certain regards.
Okay.
But anything that's true should stand for itself. And in any case, I'm certainly better than any politician because I haven't hurt anybody.
Do you think identifying and associating yourself with, observable truth makes you virtuous or moral?
I don't understand the question.
If you're just like, guys, this is what's right, and it just so happens to be right, do you think that makes you more virtuous or moral socially?
If you're right on a question as big as this,
Yeah.
that definitely gives you a leg up on everyone else.
Do you think that
Because this is an issue where you are not allowed to just casually make a judgment about it and be wrong.
do you think that in pursuit of even the chance of saving lives, it is virtuous to request of a populace to defer of some of their liberties of which the state gave them to begin with?
No, I don't accept the question.
The state, yeah. In case if you look at our charter, it's the state gives us our liberties. In so those are the rules. Don't care what's right. It's true, because that's the charter. Queen owns this shit.
No,
And she
they
gave
can't take away anything.
the queen owns the land. God made the queen. These are right things. These are true because God said so. So they've got this charter. Government gave you your rights, and they can take them away when it's important. And they said this is important. So by interfering with that, that makes you immoral, unclean.
Well, no. Look, the whole thing where it's like you don't care about people if you oppose the lockdowns is pretty much the stupidest, most dangerous way to have a debate about public health imaginable.
It's because anybody who is against it sucks at framing an argument. They fucking suck at it.
I've heard amazingly persuasive arguments against lockdowns, and I haven't heard politicians basically ever make them.
Well, then why does everybody support them? They fucking love them.
Is it the old Babylonian thing where they take the king outside the city walls and strip him naked once a year, and he has to like confess how he's failed them?
Oh, yeah, but that's Trudeau. Trudeau does that all the time, though. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah.
He said sorry for blackface. He said sorry for, I don't know, blackface, I think. Triple blackface incidents.
He said sorry for what the Canadian government did to Indians.
Oh yeah, he said sorry for the genocide.
He said sorry for turning away boats of immigrants during World War Jews, World War II. Apparently, we turned away a bunch of Jewish immigrants.
Did he say sorry for elbowing the woman in Parliament?
He did.
I'm sorry. Oh, and did he say I'm sorry that she experienced it differently when he like sexually groped some woman? That reporter?
No, he never said sorry for that. He never said.
He just said she experienced it differently.
You know he's a feminist, right? How dare you?
That makes it okay.
Yeah, I'm a feminist. There was a bunch of celebration by the Canadian media that the rate of vaccination in Canada was all of a sudden the best. The amount of people that got the first dose, they're like, man, no one gets first doses better than us.
Yeah, well,
we're the greatest.
The need for Canadians to be smug about something was getting like really desperate.
Yeah, we got to be better than the U.S. at something.
Yeah, so they had to latch onto something. So that's probably it. That's the only thing they're better at. The economy's worse than everywhere else. The unemployment's worse than everywhere else. We've printed and spent the most money relative to the size of our economy versus anywhere else and got the worst results. It's just a joke. Like, it's hilarious. Canada is a laughing stock.
GDP's a made up number anyways. What are you talking about? Did you see that Jagmeet Singh had to come out and apologize for hugging someone in public?
Hugged his bro.
Yeah, he hugged his bro. The fucking audacity.
It's insane. People are gonna come back and listen to shit like this and read these stories, and they'd be like, "Oh, a politician had to apologize because he hugged a dude because it was his bro, but there was like a virus." And
I
people will think, and rightly so, they'll think the world went totally insane.
I think it's because he said people who flout COVID restrictions are right wing conspiracists.
Oh, that's the best part.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few
Yeah.
days or a week or so before, it was pretty funny. So yeah, he says,
Yeah.
yeah, the only people who are against lockdowns and going to anti-lockdown protests, that's just like covert, like white supremacy or like racist.
No,
It's
that's
like
what
racist protests disguised as like protests for freedom.
the term is thinly veiled, and that's attributed to Nenshi.
Thinly veiled. Yeah, well,
Thinly
Nenshi said
veiled.
the same thing like a
Yeah.
few days before, or
Yeah.
right around that time. So yeah, so I guess, what do you really think about the marginalized Mr. Jagmeet?
And you're like, oh, they're garbage. Spit on them.
So, you've got your blasphemy against your priestly class, like Saint Fauci. You can't speak out against him. You've got, your sacraments, like you get anointed with sanitizer. You get baptized by the vaccine.
Yeah.
You have to hunt down heretics. You have to have your face coverings, wear the right clothes.
Going on Twitter talking shit on Facebook
there's
is your
the,
it's your good works.
There's the day of judgment when the people will reach immunity and be saved, and like the paradise when you can finally go outside again.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm trying to call attention, I guess, to the more specific, and maybe I'm not describing it properly, but it seems to have, and again, there's the parallel with the climate change stuff, and there's the parallel with the social justice stuff. Like, remember, like St. George Floyd, like social justice has its own like languages and sacraments and blasphemies and priestly class and day of judgment, like the reckoning when we finally come to terms with our bigotry and
when you come face to face with race.
Yeah, when you the
that's Judgment Day.
End of days is when you finally come face to face. We finally come to terms with it. That's what we say. We need to come to terms with it. So that's some magical event in the distant future, the end of history, I guess. And then there's like the climate change, which again, very similar. So I'm trying to call attention to, I guess, something a little more specific. And that's why I thought it was interesting that even though you were trying to draw like a broader picture, you couldn't help but go in the direction of describing Fauci with like this sainthood status that's been given to him by his team.
Do I owe this risk to people at large, like Canada? Do I owe it to the people of Alberta, or do I owe it to the people of Calgary? Do I owe it to humanity itself? Like, who do I have this duty of care to that they imagine?
Well, this is one of the biggest questions of political philosophy and moral philosophy, for that matter. What do we owe other people? I don't know. That's a pretty heavy question for.
But I think that's at the core of their argument for someone who is fairly skeptical about the way this is going down. I have no trust in the health authorities. I have no trust in government officials. I have no trust in the media.
Good.
So when they have that kind of like zero trust, to have someone come and beat me over the head with,
you're like, this is your responsibility. I'm your moral and intellectual superior.
Yeah, like who?
I decide what your responsibilities are.
Do I owe it to future generations? Do I owe it to my ancestors? Do I have to go join the military right now?
Well, there's really no cutoff point. Once you go beyond private property ethics, I think there's no cutoff point.
I think you owe it to me and the people of your community to get on this boat and go kill our enemies.
there was kind of this weird point where like grandmas and grandpas and stuff like started getting on Facebook somehow,
Yeah.
and you you'd like you'd go into like these news stories or whatever and look at these comments and people I mean, people are saying horrible things to each other, and then you like click on the person to see their profile, and it's like these like 70-year-olds and stuff.
CBC articles are the Reddit for people over 50. They talk mad shit in those comment
They
sections.
they say horrible things to each other.
Yeah, I love it. Anybody over 50 or 60 that can shit talk in a fucking public forum, I'm all about it. But I find those. I think that news article comment sections are the true lifeblood of internet, like garbage. It's my favorite thing to read. Like, fuck
comment
everything.
sections can be like quite good, and it's interesting getting like, I don't know, getting that slice of humanity.
Yeah,
and like a glimpse into their thoughts.
I remember
And sometimes
when
the arguments, like watching two idiots argue with each other, is a surreal experience.
if I hadn't heard Notley's comment, I would give you fucking 2-1.
Well, I think she's gonna be making more comments.
Maybe she got her hands
Like
slapped.
if she loses this,
She
she needs this. Do you remember when the justice minister had to apologize because he put out some Facebook post, and he was probably correct, but he said, "Oh, the media and the NDP would love nothing more than for our hospital system to collapse."
Whoa, no, I never heard that.
And then he had to apologize, like, "Oh, I don't really
Sounds like
think they wish that, but I think they probably do, in a sense that, like, yeah, okay, maybe they don't want people to die, but they would love the political advantage of being like, look what they did to the hospital system because they mismanaged the virus situation so much."
Yeah.
Like, obviously,
when someone else fucks up, it's to my benefit. Yeah, everybody knows that, but like,
it's like when it's like when Trump was running against Hillary, and people were like, oh, if there's a terrorist attack, it helps Trump. It's like, remember when there was that nightclub attack, and they're like, oh, this is good for Trump. Like, you know, there's a political reality behind like bad events that help some people.
I believe it's called realpolitik.
You know, say 1 million people die of the virus, and it's like, oh, well, on the bright side, we'll probably win the next election.
On the bright side, we're polling up.
Our
5
polls are up.
Yeah, all your all the rednecks you hate so much are all fucking dead. So there's nobody left but unionized workers in Edmonton and government
to vote on equalization, whether it should be removed, whether Section 36(2) should be removed from the Constitution, which is hilarious.
I don't know where he sees this going. It's not like the Fed won't let you. That's it. Unless you're a distinct society. So we should have had
Kenny would like nothing more than for the referendum to fail. And I think it's basically like when David Cameron, the UK Prime Minister, had to bring in the Brexit referendum, because he basically promised to do it. You knew his heart wasn't in it. You knew he didn't want it, but he couldn't get out of it. He was basically stuck. So he's like, all right. And then he resigned when it went against him.
Kenny will never resign. Would you
Kenny
agree?
probably won't resign, but I think
he can't.
Personally, I mean, who knows? But I think he would prefer that the referendum just die.
Yeah.
I think that's what everyone would love, because NDP would love if it fails, because then they can look and say like, haha, look how stupid the referendum was.
What a waste of money.
And then Kenny would love for it to fail, because then he's like, okay, now I don't have to deal with this anymore.
That's it. That's what you can do. You just ban stuff.
No, all you need to do is set up some schools and properly.
What kind of schools? What kind of schools do you need to set up?
Well, that's the joke.
Shit all over it.
Government schools are never the answer.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, if we could just get maybe some kind of religious organization involved, maybe just take it out of the hands of the state, maybe kind of steer more towards some sort of religious organization,
No.
like a church,
No.
like the Roman Catholic Church.
Don't do it.
What do you think about madrasas on reserves?
Yeah, the residential madrasa program.
Dude, that would actually be kind of sick. I'm in favor.
It just might not be a good idea.
More brothers for the Nation of Islam, bro.
No, I just think that is not the way to go.
Residential madrasas? Why not?
It's just horrible. There's so many ways. It's just horrible.
That sounds like bigot talk to me.
No, I'm just against all of it.
You
equally.
Okay, but it sounds like a slight against the law to me. Infidel.
Issue of faith, like they won't give up belief in their God, the state. If only the right people were in charge, or if only they had the right knowledge, or if only they had the nicest people, or if only they had the whatever. It's always in the right conditions. The state will do what I want. The state will be my proxy. It will. It is a beast to be tamed. And it's like, no, it's no beast to be tamed. It's the beast that eats you. And people can't deal with that. It's too much of an inversion of the way people think, and it's too. I mean, even for simpler things, we're very resistant to giving up something that we believe is true. So if it's something that fundamental, especially when the alternative seems to be anarchism, and when anarchism seems to evoke like people in masks running around throwing Molotov cocktails at people, it doesn't necessarily create the best impression. So it's always this idea that, the state's done all these horrible things, and it just keeps happening. And the worst things ever that have happened, it's always been the state. But by golly, it'll do what I want somehow, someday.
It just makes me think of that but real communism has never been tried thing. And
That's just what it is.
Just replace communism with representational democracy.
What's your problem with public schools? Well,
yeah, really.
Residential school program. It's like, well, real public schools have never been tried.
Okay, as a person who's
so what is the superstition of the right?
Oh, the superstition of the right is profanity, without a doubt.
Profanity?
Yeah, absolutely.
What?
Yeah. The superstition of the right is profanity. You can't say that on television.
No.
Yeah, it is.
We're talking about masks for the left.
Yeah, no, profanity is still the mask of the right.
No way.
Yeah.
No, okay, I reject the answer, and I need another one. There's got to be another one.
No, because you might buy into this a bit. You're like, oh well, it shows because I'm fairly foul mouthed. I speak as I think. And I enjoy swearing.
So do I. It's awesome.
But I have felt that that kind of the social taboo of swearing in a casual and relaxed environment. And I'm like, oh shit, these people don't roll like that.
Yeah, some people it's very different.
Yeah, and
you got to know the scene. But in general, it's not good.
So what?
But I don't think that's on the level of masks for the right. Although it's interesting to talk about itself. It's bad for us. We shouldn't swear.
Yeah.
I do it all the time anyway, and I like doing it, and it feels good, and I think it's effective, and blah blah blah. But I think it's actually kind of bad for us to do it.
Okay. Does overt sexualization or promiscuity count for the right?
No, we're talking about a superstition. Okay, think about the mask. Think about what the mask has become to, again, predominantly leftists. Because that's just how it breaks down. Again, for whatever reason, that's just kind of how it is. Mm-hmm. There's this left-right divide on the mask thing.
Oh, support of the military. Easy. Support of the military.
That's the big superstition?
Yeah. You love your country because you support the military. You wear a flag. You got your little Canadian or American pin. I support I back the blue. Support the troops. You know what I mean? That's what
Yeah, the cops one might work.
Yeah, supporting the cops is the right wing mask.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the hardcores who live out in the fucking country, they hate the fucking fuzz, dude. Hate them.
Yeah.
Hate fish and
And
wildlife.
hardcore hippie leftists also hate the mask.
Horseshoe theory. And yeah, the only one that'll
NDP brings nothing to the table anymore. Like the liberals have like done all their stuff except for
all the NDP does
free drugs,
free everything,
and free daycare.
NDP just says like, you got to do more. It's like, well, what are the liberals doing this week? You're like, we got to do more. Like, look, tax breaks for billionaires, and the NDP are like, oh, wait a second, you almost got me on that one. Less tax breaks for the rich.
We will extend the unemployment benefits. We want them to be longer
and bigger
and longer.
Yeah.
This message is approved by Jag Meat.
Not a bro. Just don't.
Jag Meat.
Jag
Meat wants more.
More, longer, and bigger. Jag Meat wants more, longer, and bigger deficits.
Weird.
So there's two things that makes me think about. One is so there was a moment shortly after the stampede. He was in a scrum. There was a bunch of media sitting around. They're like, oh my god, the vaccine, blah blah blah, mask bylaw. I think this was before his announcement, and he said, look, you guys need to knock it off. You got to stop the problem. Like, it seems like the moment,
stop the fear mongering.
Yeah, he said, this is all your fault. You're fear mongering fucking degenerates. And there was a moment, it seemed like the second it hit that 70% in terms of vaccination, he was like, I'm off this fucking ride. I'm done here. I've scared the bejesus out of people. I've spent all the goodwill and political capital I had fucking carrying water. And I'm done.
Yeah. And it didn't work out for him. And I think, like, he's weird. He's trying to do, like, this peppy style now and really upbeat and, like, uplifting and, like, the best days are ahead and stuff. And it doesn't go, like, I don't know what his best style is, but it doesn't really look good on him. But his sense of, like, who he is has changed a lot in the last few years, or not the last few months. And it comes across as phony and like kind of lame and forced. Yeah. But
whatever.
I think you're right. I mean, when he basically told the media at that press conference, like,
that was the
you're
moment.
just spreading fear. And I think that's an interesting way to interpret it, that, he's done with it. He has lost too much support to keep going down that direction.
Yeah.
By listening to Rachel Notley in the media, he's severely jeopardized his potential, and probably what he'll have to do, because this alone won't be enough. This is the minimum requirement, but it won't get him there. I don't know how he does it exactly, but I assume that somehow in the next 2 years, he either needs like an absolutely smoking economy that people are too afraid to lose, and I just don't know if it's going to happen, but he would need to throw the base like maybe 2 huge juicy things, and he not promise them in a campaign, but he'd have to do them before he gets out. And I think that's the only way that basically he gets enough people, because he's not going to get NDP voters to switch over.
Yeah.
He needs the people who basically voted for him originally, to enough of them to show up again.
He's got to, he's got to pull out that old Albertan, the old Alberta standby. So he's got a bunch of shit getting thrown at him by nurses and doctors. So he's got to come out and he say, all right, nurses, doctors, you've ate shit for the past 2 years. Here's your money. Here's your staffing. Here's your support. Here's everything you fucking wanted. We're taking it all from the teachers. And everyone will go. everyone, everyone will go,
I'd
well,
laugh.
like, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Fuck those teachers. They would say, I suspect. They're like, you haven't been doing shit in the past year. My kid came home at least 6 months of the fucking year.
That's hilarious.
I'd rather there be 6 teachers teleteaching my fucking kids. I've been raising them and teaching them myself. They just sit in their fucking rooms and try not to kill themselves.
This guy is on. He goes on CBC as some disinterested, just expert. And of course, he's not disinterested. He's at these political rallies. He gives tens of thousands of dollars to the NDP.
$20,000.
He's a shill doctor. He's a doctor. Sure, maybe he's a great doctor, but he's a shill and he's politically interested. He's not an objective, expert, as if that would ever exist in the first place. But this is not just this guy. This is a lot of these doctors, but very few of them have been looked into. The kinds that they get on TV, on the mainstream news to talk about as the experts, there's tons of them. The ones that even Doug Ford has on his advisory board or whatever it's called, the virus advisory committee or emergency advisory committee, it's full of all kinds of people with a political axe to grind. And the reason I say I don't want to single him out necessarily for the sake of the general issue, like this is everywhere. All these guys on TV, they have a political interest. A lot of them have a motivation very strongly to hurt, their political enemies. And of course, they put on their lab coats and their
goes to a climate change meeting with a stethoscope on.
Yeah, it's absurd.
Sits in his living room with his fucking
all
scrubs on.
Political theater.
Oh God, I just got done, fucking massaging someone's heart back to life. I have 10 minutes for an interview to talk about lockdowns.
So back to the first question. Like, is he a fall guy or?
Okay, so Harper, the ghost of Harper, doesn't exist. It's a fairy tale. He will never get on the campaign trail because he can't take his wife with him. Okay? First of all, he can't take his wife with him. She won't be seen with him in public, from what I understand. Maybe. Theoretic. Like, I'm assuming...
It's not a problem for Trudeau.
Yeah, well, she's just upset that she can't fucking get him and Gomeshi to kiss some more. You're like, honey, we should... You know who we should bring on tour? Like, while we're campaigning? Like, what? Do you think Gomeshi's done? Like, do you think he's ready for... Has he atoned enough? Is he ready for public consumption again? Because that last time where you guys fucking made out...
Trudeau will get him set up.
That was hot. That was hot.
This way, I can basically decide what to spend my reduced money with once I get it. It's like, no, you have to spend it on these special things that we've decided that have been determined by our industry partners.
These credits.
Like, how convenient. How do I get on that list? How do I get to be on the list that some people are only allowed to spend billions of dollars on, like us few companies?
Yeah, you're looking.
But that's one of
you're
the
thinking
reasons,
about running again, Aaron. How do I? Oh, you want some money?
Anyway, that idea was so dumb, it made me think that it was part of the intentional destruction of O'Toole, because the plan, whatever arguments they can make, unless I'm missing something, the plan is clearly more retarded than even the current Liberal plan.
Look, if we can smell the grift, smart people can smell that grift too. It's a signal. So he's not doing it to win. And he's sending out the right signals. He says, look, I will turn this place upside down for money.
Yeah, but if he doesn't win, it doesn't matter.
No. But he's just like, look, Trudeau's going to have a heart attack or his wife's going to stab him in his sleep at some point. Or you know what? The next election, I'm going to bring up blackface. Okay, guys. So, but like now I'm just going to get all these shitty ideas out there so that you can understand that I'm willing to fucking play ball.
Just too bizarre. What was the he's got his swimming pool thing.
I'm gonna build a swimming pool.
I just don't get it. Like, this is Canadian politics. It's unlikely that we have a non-Canadian listener, but
We do.
Canadian
We do.
political leaders are the lamest people on the entire planet.
So Stephen Harper, in his interview on first trying to lecture, you know,
Is
but
this the Rex Murphy interview?
yeah, Rex Murphy just just juicing up Harper. He's like, oh my God, is so bad. Stephen Harper came out of retirement to fucking give an interview because he, he's a private man. He would never say anything untoward. He's a true statesman. Like, God bless you, Rex Murphy, but dude, you're carrying water right now. And he goes, oh, first he shat on Trudeau over macroeconomics. And it's just like, yeah, and you're not much better, dude. I'm sorry. You were never that much better. Granted, we didn't go through, nothing was quite this bad, but it has to get this bad to have a point of reference. But he started bitching about woke culture. And the first thing I thought of is the 1996 riots in LA and the one fucking shop owner running around. Everybody's like running around, shit's on fire. And he's like, why y'all doing this? I can't believe you've done this. Like, what's wrong with y'all? And just yelling to no one in particular because his shop fucking got burnt down. Okay, so tolerating these types of ideology, these types of people in public by saying, I can't believe you've done this. You've burnt down my fucking place of business. You're destroying your own neighborhood. That's you guys just bitching about woke shit. Oh my God, they're so bad. Oh, can you believe what they believe?
Yeah, exactly.
It'll look good in 20 years. Like, fucking hats off.
I think at his core he's still kind of like the federalist guy, and he doesn't have an or else. Like, basically, oh yeah, he doesn't have anything.
He gets along to go along. I get it. But remember when people were fucking talking shit about Hinshaw, the lockdown, like anti-lockdown protests were just like, man, fuck this bitch. And he was like, man, I can't believe you'd say that about
I can't
her.
believe you'd
She's
say
a
horrible
saint.
things about
you
Hinshaw.
You people are racist. You're horrible. You have no place in Alberta. And just a smidge of that disgust and contempt and righteousness I would like for you to bring against a federal apparatus.
But honestly, I don't think, I mean, I might be remembering wrong, or maybe we saw some different stuff, but I think I remember exactly the thing you're talking about. And I don't think he came across all that much better. Like, very, very pedantic and scolding.
Yeah.
But not like not coming from a position of strength, like more of like a please stop being mean.
It was
it's disgusting. Please stop that.
It was
like a Nenshi kind of response.
It was pretty indignant.
Remember
Nenshi fucking opened fire.
As if, did you remember when Nenshi was complaining about death threats over like some bus ride, and he had his anti-bullying t-shirt on?
Oh, Billy the anti-bully? No,
of course, Nenshi loves dunking on the He loves dunking on Kenny.
Man, Nenshi,
and that's another thing.
I'd rather have Nenshi go there and
should
talk
be
shit.
Just dunking on Nenshi, and like he throws the weakest stuff out there. Maybe I don't get it. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe the softy stuff is better, but it doesn't seem like it.
They're all people's
throw some
nukes. Yeah, dude. People are ready for it. They're ready for it.
But it's so Prime Minister Blackface decided to show up in the province and throw some money around on dead-end infrastructure projects, which I guess he can't really say because they're throwing money in too. But
look, it's the city's decision. We're provincial. Like, those are the rules. We're bound to do it. We've been trying to slow up.
Whatever.
McIver has been trying to kill this thing for years. It won't die. It looks like it's going to happen. Sorry, Calgarians. Dunk it. I know you can't buy a bike in this city, so clearly we need more trains. So thanks Mr. Blackface. See you later.
So we went to the high court and we're watching a whole bunch of stuff, and we were watching the case of the stolen kebab. And what had happened is this fairly large dude he was a regular patron of a particular kebab joint. And one night, I guess he was drunk and he went in and decided to help himself to a kebab. And he like went behind the counter and he was like cutting his own meat. And
Your Honor, I would call this a kebab emergency.
it was the most ridiculous case I've ever seen. And we were the only ones in the gallery. Like clearly nobody cared. And the only people there were the accused, which was the big fat guy.
Yeah.
And the prosecutor and defense counsel, and then of course the judge, right? And I mean, if it wasn't a serious, I mean, this guy probably was looking at some sort of penalty for
Theft under 5,000.
Oh, I mean,
enter and stuff like that.
maybe like whatever they have in the UK. I think that they've got some pretty peculiar stuff in the UK. So anyway,
he had a license but not a permit.
so he was testifying and he's like, this guy was my buddy. I thought he wouldn't mind, all that kind of stuff. Right? It was late at night, and I guess anyway, but it was clearly a big deal, and they brought a case, and the prosecutor was cross-examining him and it was asking him. He was like, sir, you're a fairly large girth. Do you expect the court to believe that you weren't hungry for a kebab at 2:00 in the morning?
What I was going to say is people keep talking like COVID did this or like before COVID closed my business.
Yeah.
And I think it just really corrupts the way we think because it takes our eye off the real entity that inflicted the wreckage. Like the virus was not worth turning society upside down for. And, your business wasn't closed. Your family wasn't torn apart. You didn't lose your job because of COVID. You lost it because of
the unvaccinated.
No, it should be before the lockdowns. People should be saying before lockdowns or lockdowns did this. Lockdowns did that. Lockdowns ruined my life.
The
lockdowns
unvaccinated ruined my life.
Delayed my cancer treatment.
Pandemic.
Lockdowns. People say, "Oh, the virus did it." The virus closed my business.
Yeah. Albertans don't want to be seen as dirt farmers. They want to be seen as metropolitan. And part of being metropolitan.
Well, who are these Albertans? It's only the urbanites.
Yeah, but they're Albertans.
Most of them are Canadians.
Yeah.
Canadians. That's not the same.
Well, I moved here a long time ago.
And you know what? You know
and
how
I live
there
in
was
the city.
something recently about that. It was some stupid survey about like, would you want to live in this province? What do you think of this province? And the headline on CBC or whatever was, did you see this? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
So it was, most Canadians don't want to live in Alberta. And I was like,
Good.
That's good. But you know what else that means? That means there is a difference.
Yeah.
That means there is a distinction. So sure, maybe in Ontario, you really care about XYZ, and Alberta's priorities are slightly different.
But they start grilling Trudeau about costs of things. They're like, gasoline has tripled, food has doubled. Trudeau's such a limousine liberal that he doesn't even know what a loaf of bread costs. How much does a loaf of bread or milk cost, Mr. Prime Minister? Like, I don't know how much that costs. I buy it all the time. I don't even look at the price.
Did they literally ask that, or
yes,
was there a different
that's
question?
what they asked. They said, "Does this Prime Minister know what a loaf of bread costs? And if he does, can he tell me what it is?"
Stupid.
But
Like,
no. Here's the kicker. This is why it's beautiful. He stood up and he goes, "The federal government understands how expensive and hard it is out there for every Canadian. That's why we passed $10 a day daycare." Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he sat
Brilliant.
down. And then he sat down.
Of course, it's all for theater. Like, they get to put it on their Facebook page, and the Conservatives get to put their zinger of a question on their Facebook page,
Yeah.
and all the idiots clap. And like, wow, really got him there.
Yeah, and he
and
goes
they
like,
think, whoa, wow, look, they showed he doesn't, look at his non-answer. He didn't tell them how much a loaf of bread is.
Yeah.
And then on the Trudeau side, they'll be like, wow.
If you can't
yeah,
see how
really dealing with the issues instead of these distractions. Trudeau is amazing.
Suck it, losers. The real question is, Would this have been completely opposite if Donald Trump had won in the election?
No, because Donald Trump was one of the worst lockdown tards of them all. He was one of the big He thought
No.
genuinely
hear
we
me
will
out.
like lock down the virus to death.
Hear me out.
We will make it go away by Easter.
Operation Warp Speed. These are all Trump's vaccines. Dude, you could see, you can there's a great Twitter account called just Libs of TikTok, or Libs posting their L's or something like that. And there was a lot of people who were just like, I'd rather fucking die than take Trump's vaccine. And then 6 months later, go get the fucking vaccine, you evil piece of shit.
It would have been very different, I'm sure, but not in Canada, because Canada would have doubled down even harder on lockdowns, passports, and vaccines, because that's what we do. We do the opposite of the Americans. That is our populist nationalism, anti-American, leftoid, Ontario, Quebec style anti-American nationalism.
No, we're downstream, and we're the little cousin that got left behind, and we would have eventually, after they'd be like, look, all the old people are vaccinated. Oh, this is Trump's vaccine. I hate Trump, yada, yada, yada. And then you'd have a bunch of people on the right that are like, it's your social duty. We would have
I don't know, because Trump sure loved the vaccine. He's still telling people
fucking
to get it.
Loved it.
And he was one of the biggest lockdown tards of all, because he basically just let these bureaucrats take over with the plan they cooked up like a few months earlier for basically medieval policy on the whole thing. Totally insane. He was a joke. But the new evolution is this lady. She's a doctor, so you should take this seriously.
Okay.
She says,
what kind of doctor?
One of the biggest problems is that people have to take their masks off while they're eating.
Oh,
so
if only there was a better way.
So what we need to do
is
institute a silence rule while you're eating, so that the vocalizations will not produce the magical virus gas.
Oh.
And at that point, it will be safer than it otherwise would be. So you wear the mask until you get your food, and then when you're eating the food, you don't talk, because that would be the most safe. So, again, clown world is real.
Never thought about it like
These
that.
people should be mocked into hiding for 10 years in sheer embarrassment, but instead, people think that's an acceptable thing to say. That person should want to like smash their head against the wall thinking, why did I say that? I am an idiot. But no, they get cheered on like, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, yeah, better safe than sorry.
That does sound really
if it saves one life.